Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside Lowell podcast. I am your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the WellPoint Studios here in downtown Lowell. Unicare is now WellPoint, new name, same commitment to Massachusetts. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. And we thank our friends at WellPoint for helping to make this podcast, all of our Inside Lowell podcasts possible, along with the rest of our Inside Lowell podcast partners. Of course, our friends at the Washington Savings Bank. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, from affordable to luxurious, apartments for all. Boston North Company, business solutions for restaurant and retail. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to Greater Lowell for nearly a century. Francis E. Preventure Insurance, the agency you can count on for 41 plus years. And of course, the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Mill City. And with that, let me welcome in my guests for this Inside Lowell podcast. Speaking of hard-hitting action and excitement, right? If you want to talk about hard-hitting sports, you've got football, you've got hockey, and then, of course, you've got the sweet science, boxing. Kevin Coughlin is joining us here from Lowell Sun Charities and Executive Director, CEO of the Greater Lowell Workforce Board. You got a number of different hats you wear.
We're wearing that Lowell Sun's charity hat today, and we're talking all boxing and tournament today.
Which I'm excited about. Bob Russo is the other gentleman joining us here. Bob is the Executive Director of the New England Gold Gloves, which is held here in Lowell every winter and early spring. He's also the President of the National Golden Gloves. So welcome back, Bob. And it is that latter role that we talked about that you are here to talk about today. News coming out last week that the City of Lowell is going to make a bid for the 2027 National Golden Gloves tournament to be held right here in the Mill City. Has not happened since 1995. Happened once before that. You told me 1973,
yep.
Bob, and you want to bring it back in 2027. My question is, what the hell took so long? Of course you bring the National Golden Gloves to Lowell, Massachusetts, right?
Exactly, and it was such a huge hit when we did it here. I mean, people are still talking about it at the national level, and of course all the old fans that we have here. So yeah, I mean, the bids come every year. So it's like a tide of incoming tide of bids every year. So, Lowell it's time to do it again.
I'm glad you talked about how big of a success it was when it was last held here, because, as we talked about before we recorded the cameras, boxing is kind of a cyclical sport, right? It goes up and down depending on which stars develop and exactly. Capture the public's attention. But Lowell has such a rich history that it's tailor-made between the history and the infrastructure of our city. It's tailor-made for this event.
Yeah, it's the great demographics here, a blue-collar, gritty type city, and I see all the tournament reports from all over the country, and this is the best franchise that there is in the whole country. It's the best supported, community supported, fans support, sponsors support. Everything. I see it all, and we're the best.
And part of that success, Kevin, is the Lowell Sun and Lowell Sun Charities and their involvement with this. Talk a little bit about what your contributions are to this whole effort.
Yeah, we're glad to, Teddy. Thank you so much for having us here, and good morning to you and all of the listeners. The Lowell Sun Charities has an extremely proud tradition, 76 years. Of having a youth development program called the Golden Gloves. And previously, when it was very active, we're involved supporting Silver Mittens, which is the feeder program of younger athletes coming into that. We continue that program now going forward, and we're very pleased to say that we're maintaining not only the histories of the great boxers. Bob can tell you later on some of the biggest names in boxing history. Olympians have been here boxing at the Lowell Arena and took part in Golden Gloves as the early part of their career, but also the tradition of youth development and giving, in many cases, at-risk youth and individuals mentored through the gyms in the history of Lowell a spot and a dream and a way to improve their lives. So it's not just about boxing and the physics of it. It's about the aspect of developing youth. And I just will add one more sentence. It's quite heartening to see the development of female participants at all ages getting into boxing, not just for the physical contact piece, but for the conditioning, for the confidence building, and for developing young women. It's great to see.
And in terms of the hats you've worn historically here in the city, another one was business/economic development. I was surprised to learn earlier this morning when we talked to Mayor Danny Rourke about the bid in 2027. He said this is about a 2.5 week tournament here. That's going to be huge for those of us who do business in Lowell, for, whether it's restaurants or shops or, hopefully by 2027, a hotel or two in the area as well.
So the main events and the main activities, if you're talking strictly tournament, Bob can elaborate on this, is a period of, 9 days or so together. If you take the other peripheral activities that come around that, you can really stretch these activities into 2 weeks. And Lowell is going to do what it's going to do best. I want to compliment the city manager and the mayor and the other members of the council that, are just super excited and supportive as great partners with all of us to bring this here. And Lowell is going to do what it does best. And the economic boost to the downtown and the surrounding business is going to be significant.
So how did this come about? How did the decision to make an active bid and hopefully bring this home, how did it come about? Who kind of started the effort here?
Well, we tossed it around, and we just thought it was a good time. I mean, there was a lot of bids that were coming in, and there was like a timing for that. And now's the time. I mean, we got to be in Tulsa for a couple of years, and we figured that this would be a good way to do it at the next national meeting, which is in September, to do it before everyone else jumps in. Yeah. And there is a number of other places that are jumping that want to put a bid in, but I think that we're going to preempt them and do it before they have the chance, because of being in Tulsa for 2 years. They probably think they have some time to do that. So we're going to jump in, and I think that we'll win. And
listen, you're the president of the National Golden Gloves here. Hopefully you do get a little insider trading. In this particular case, it's a good thing, right? You've got some clout into that decision. Do you not?
Yes, I do. To some degree. I mean, this goes to a vote of the 30 delegates, and I only have one vote, as president. But I do believe we're going to win. I think that people remember this being a great, many delegates are still around that did the tournament here in '95. And they're still talking about it. So it's great. I think that what the package that we're going to offer will supersede whatever comes up against us.
Yeah, let's talk about that package. What does the bid entail? What exactly do you folks, as kind of the organizers behind this, but also the city, need to do to put up a bid that will be successful ultimately?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of expense that goes to it, and that's the venue expense. To have that place basically for 10 days, that's a big expense. And having the rings, and the thing that the delegates care about mostly is cost. And usually they will tend to vote for the bid that is mostly in the mid part of the country, so that people can drive in. This being on the East Coast in New England, that means you got to fly in. So that's for us going, because we always pay usually, you're talking 10, 12 grand in flight expenses. So that's what the thing is. The negative part of that is where we are. But I think that the city is going to put their best foot forward to help maybe with some of those travel expenses. So that's a big thing right there. That should help. The other thing is hotels and the lodging situation, what the expense is of that. I mean, typical of everyone that votes in politics, it's about how it affects them. And this is how it affects the delegates, how much money it costs. So I think that Lowell put a good bid in to kind of quell some of those concerns.
You're going to need some private equity, obviously, Kevin, right? If the Lowell business community is going to be asked to step up and help raise a lot of that funding, I assume.
Yeah, correct. So we're trying to establish what the full budget is now. It's going to be, over 100,000. We think it's going to be in the neighborhood of 150,000 all in order to do everything. There's going to be some offsetting revenues that come in from some things. But before we can get the budgeting, we kind of do this simultaneously. And this is, I said before, and I'll say it again, this is what Lowell does best, right? Because everybody, when they focus and come together, they can make the world move. And that's pretty much what we're trying to pull together. The key component, of course, to this is going to be living arrangements. And we know that we have to manage the living arrangements in the proximity of the venue. So we'll be using outside hotels, but one key piece to this is the cooperation of UMass Lowell trying to solve that issue of lodging with us. So we have an appointment later on this afternoon. Actually, we're going to meet with the representatives of UMass Lowell, and I want to thank President Julie Chen for allowing the option to be there of considering whether or not that could be a piece, and a good piece, to solving for athletes and some of the coaches and whatnot, as opposed to staying at a peripheral hotel.
Yeah, it makes sense, because if you look at the places that hold Olympics, where people are traveling from all over, you need venues, you need hotels for the visitors, but you also dorm rooms, if rather than building new facilities, which happens in some places and
100%.
more expensive than building 3 rings, right? But if you have an existing college or university with dorm rooms, that's an option. That is that what you're looking for? And that tells me that we're looking at a summer event in 2027.
Yeah, we're actually looking at early June of 2027. And again, we're trying to coordinate that with the rhythms of a school and whether our students have left for the dorm for the year, and whether the dorms can be turned around and cleaned at that time, and all of those devil in the detail logistics. But the idea that we're looking at, and that will be part of it, we're trying to fine tune what week it's going to be. But it seems and appears now, between our conversations with the manager and the mayor, Peter Lally down at the Lowell Auditorium, in terms of availability, and UMass Lowell, that it looks like it'd be the first week of June or the second week of June in 2027.
And when you talk about UMass Lowell involvement, the auditorium will host the boxing. Is it with the final night or two? Would you need a bigger venue, hence the Tsongas Center, or can the auditorium contain it all here in 2027?
I think, we start out with 3 rings, and then it shrinks down to 1, the final 2 days. So it would be fine. Pack it, and that's the kind of atmosphere we want.
All right. Can we bring back the cigar smoking being on just for one day, just for the finals?
Maybe
I'd vote for that.
I want the
in the
cigar
back,
smoking and the smoke-filled
We had some
rooms.
conversations this morning about, building around the auditorium these recreational spots and some vendor spots around that for during and after the bouts. And
That's how you bring corporate sponsors and their money into this, right?
That may be exactly what we're talking about, opportunities like that.
Very smart. And, the money at first might sound a lot. You're talking about $150,000, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not that much for a national sporting event. It's actually kind of cheap. I'm shocked that it's that little.
Yeah, you got to figure about 150, but a lot of this depends on what it costs for the venue, because the venue is a big thing, and that's yet to be determined what that is, because that number could rise.
We're chatting with Kevin Coughlin from Lowell Sun Charities. Bob Russo is joining us here as well. He's the executive director of the New England Golden Gloves, but also the president of the National Golden Gloves, and their effort to bring the 2027 tournament here to the Mill City for folks who may not be in-depth sports fans or have followed local boxing for a while. What type of caliber boxer are we talking about here? What are some of the names that have actually competed, some of the names that have been in Lowell back in 1995 when the tournament was held?
Well, the Golden Gloves is the launch pad of all the icons of the sport. I mean, everyone, Sugar Ray Leonard and Muhammad Ali and all the greats have come through the Golden Gloves. And locally, it's Mickey Ward and Vinny Paz and John Ruiz and Mike Tyson fought at the auditorium.
Wasn't Marvin Hagler also part of Gloves?
Hagler did not win the National Golden Gloves, but he did win the U.S. National Championship. But yeah, just name it. You know, any of the icons come through Golden Gloves, and any of the New England icons did. You know, going back to Marciano and all of them, you know, going up the ladder.
So in terms of athletic competition, pure sport, this is as good as it gets in the amateur boxing ranks.
Absolutely. These, you know, usually when you win the National Golden Gloves, that's the pinnacle of amateur boxing. And then usually they turn pro. Actually, the kid that won the National Golden Gloves middleweight championship turned pro like a month later. And he'll be someone to watch, you know, going forward.
Yeah, these are the kind of kids that go on win Olympic medals and launch a professional career. So when will we know? When will you know if your bid has cut the muster?
In September, we have a mid-year meeting in.
So 2 months from now, you will know.
Yes, in Tulsa, Oklahoma is the next national mid-year meeting, and it will go to a vote then.
All right. And what else is there anything that folks in the city can do to kind of help strengthen your proposal, your bid, the city itself, but also folks in the business community, those folks who care about these types of things?
Well, I think working together, the manager and the mayor and several councilors have spoken to me about, you know, how we accomplish multiple things while we're doing this. So one of the things would be to enhance the downtown restaurants with the visitors. So we just had young physicians that were here. And that's a good example, right? You see everyone walking around downtown. You see them at lunchtime. They got their credentials. And we envision the same type of thing. As we've spoken about it, I kind of envision a blend of all the best things that the city and the national park, you know, the folk festival, everybody does. So I think we could see some entertainment in the street, downtown, some entertainment in front of the auditorium, some areas where the public is going to be welcome to attend, not just the boxing matches, but also some of the excitement and the festivities around that. So it's a great opportunity, I think, to enhance the businesses, certainly the reputation, the credibility of the city and all of us working together, and enhance the Golden Glove traditions here to bring it back. It's like all of those things seem to click together. It's like the perfect storm for us here to be successful. And
maybe introduce some of the younger kids to the sport and,
Absolutely.
You know, create the next generation of great Lowell fighters. That's the one thing we've been missing since Mickey Ward's retirement, right? That local draw that got everybody excited, whether you were a sports fan or a casual fan of boxing.
You know, I wanted to mention that over the last couple of weeks of our past season, the mayor, the manager, several councilors, Bob, we started to talk about, can we be serious about this application? And we had an initial meeting about 6 months ago, maybe about 5 months ago. We talked about the parameters and let's do our due diligence and see if we can be serious with maybe 15 people or so up at City Hall. The mayor and the manager asked me if I would attend with Bob to the Nationals this year in Detroit, which I did do, and, you know, come back with the reconnaissance to say, you know, how do we compare to Detroit? How do we compare to these other venues? And is it going to work here? Can we do it? What do we have? And I was so happy for two things. One is the excitement, and to see that next generation that you're talking about be all part of this is just so good for the boxing sport. My appreciation for boxing has grown exponentially because of, you know, my, you know, good luck to be associated with Bob, our executive director. But the second thought of that is, you know, we not only equal this venue like a Detroit, we have so many more things here in Lowell to offer with the national park, you know, even the other peripheral aspects like the spouse tours. You talk about Concord and Lexington, right? You talk about all these other historic things surrounding New England and greater Boston and Lowell, but we've got our own national park. We've got our own venues here. We've got this great downtown. This is just made to order. So I came back so enthused. I went there, you know, maybe at a 50-50 to check it out. And through over the 3 or 4 days that we were there, the collaboration, we were just, Bob's so familiar with Lowell and the auditorium and the fan here, the fans, we were able to just plot, like walk right through the application. We know this is a great venue. We know that it's going to be spectacular, not just good, spectacular.
Yep, we know it. Listen, Lowell has done these types of things before. You mentioned the folk festival. We brought the World Curling Championships here, the Federation Cup with the Williams sisters playing tennis.
Right.
Lowell is made for these types of things, and I think this would be great. I think this would be a great feather in our cap to bring it back. Too long. It's been 30 plus years. It'll be 32 years if you're successful when 2027 comes around.
Yep. Yeah, it's again, like I said before, we're the best franchise in the country, and for a reason. We have the great support of the community and the fans, and it's all about the atmosphere. And there's no better atmosphere than down the street at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium.
All right, Bob Russo, Kevin Coughlin, thank you, gentlemen, for coming on in here. Thank you for your efforts. Sounds like you've been working on this. Would you say 6 months?
6 months so far.
This idea was born.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you got a few more months to go, and then the real work begins if you actually win the bid, right?
Exactly.
Then you got to prepare for it. But thank you so much. We're pulling for you. Anything Inside Lowell can do. Happy to help promote it and get the word out about this and help grow it. But also, I can cobble together some other small businesses and restaurants to kind of put some money up and make this happen as well. So
thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, Ted.
all right, let's win that bid. You can you rig that election, please? A lot of talk about rigged elections. I want you need to rig this one. You've got some clout, my friend.
I think we're gonna win.
All right, Kevin Coughlin, Bob Russo, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us here. Best of luck, and I can't wait for some good news in September from you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted.
All right. Thank you, guys. And thanks all of you for tuning in as well to our latest Inside Lowell podcast. As we like to say, Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place. Till next time, be safe, everybody.